virtual and global literary event. Um, the world has changed. I used to make presential literary events, but that time has passed. Today, those events are virtuals and globals. That's why I published a new book with some of my most representative works translated into English. Today, two stories from that book will be read. I hope you enjoy them.
Hello, my name is Corin Manders, and I'll be reading from the book collection by Maximiliano Orioli, the story called Hidden and Dominant. Martinez Riguera, a formally dressed man in his 50s, kept looking at the cover of the newspaper, sitting at his desk with an expression of mixed anger and concern. "You worried too much. I told you it was something that would go unnoticed and ended up going unnoticed," said Sarah, the 30-something-year-old woman on the other side of the desk. "It's not that. This paper was nothing until a year ago. How it's been growing in the last few months is incredible. It started out as a cultural agenda, and look at it now. They have a very strong stance. They want to destroy us. They want to destroy me. In a short time, they're going to be a terrible headache. I can already feel it." "You said it yourself. It started out as a cultural agenda, and today it's not much more than that." At that moment, they heard the door open. It was a young man in his 20s, also formally dressed, with a folder in his hands. He knocked and walked past the desk. "Excuse me. I was told to stop by at this time to settle my entrance to the party," he started saying while taking some sheets out of the folder. "Yeah, I'm sorry, it's not a good time. I've had my head crowded with 500 things," said Martinez Riguera, while looking at the paper. "Yes, but do you remember that we had arranged for today? Because the next week I have to start making a report." "Well, that's not my problem. Now is not a good time." The young man stared at him with some anger that began to flare up in his eyes. "I'm sorry, but I had to cancel the meeting I had because I was told we were finalizing everything today." "I don't give a shit if you canceled your meeting." Martinez Riguera jumped up with an angry shout. "I told you I can't now, so fuck off." The young man put the sheets back into the folder and stormed out. Sarah continued to look down at the desk with a smile that implied she knew the situation Martinez Riguera was in. She looked at him and said, "You're letting this newspaper affect you too much. The Martinez Riguera I know wouldn't be bothered with what newspapers like this could do. This Martinez Riguera is not the same as before. The society is not the same as before. The country is not the same as before. Today, these people have a lot of support, and they want to make the public believe that they are going to make them live something epic. Society and the country have always changed, and people have always adapted to the new falsehood. You have had to face all kinds of enemies. You were never afraid of any of them." Martinez Riguera smiled. "There's always something to be afraid of." Sarah smiled again and got up, walked around the desk, got behind him, and started massaging his shoulders. "Don't let it get to you. You'll see that everything will be fine." Martinez Riguera made a gesture of relaxation and satisfaction, turned his head towards her. She bent down a little, and they kissed. Hours later, inside the same office, Martinez Riguera was sitting on the same side of the desk talking with Javier and Guillermo, two men in their 20s, who were sitting on the other side. Both showed confident attitudes. At one point in the conversation, Javier commented, "It's a very complicated time. My rent goes up every 6 months, and next month the next semester starts. I've already been talking to other tenants in the building who are in a 2-bedroom apartment like mine and moved in recently, just for reference, to find out how much they can increase my rent. And from what they told me, I can imagine." "You have a 2-year contract?" Martinez Riguera asked. "Yes." "Well, yes, it was during last year that all blew up." "Yes, because even though the official value of the dollar has not increased that much, the thing is that the clandestine dollar has increased its value, and that is the only one that you can get." "That's right. And that is the same old story in this country. The rise of the dollar is transferred to the prices," Guillermo intervened. "That's the thing. What's your case like?" "I've been here for a year. When I came in, the devaluation hadn't started yet. It was right then." "Yes, just then. Anyway, in my case, I'm renting from an acquaintance that helped a lot. He's a friend of a friend. He let me off a lot of requirements that you have to have when you move in." "That's good. But there are also even worse situations. I know people who had bought properties at that time, got into debt with loans, and now they are seriously complicated." "Yeah, those cases are the worst." "Of course, because salaries don't go up," Javier explained, "or at least not to the level that everything else goes up. A few months ago, I got a raise at work, but was practically eaten up by inflation." "Yes, it happened to me too," said Guillermo. "And actually the prices of utilities should also be much higher, but with all the subsidies they're putting in, they are managing it so far. I don't know how much longer they will be able to do it." until it all blows up. Right. That can't be sustained for too long, Martinez-Riguera explained. It's all unreal. From this place we try to contribute. We do it our way, but we always do it, and the fact that young people want to join in is very positive for us. If you agree, what I'm going to do is arrange everything so that you can have your intake interviews. In a few days, they will contact you to arrange the date and place of the interview. Do you think it's okay? I do, answered Javier. Me too, replied Guillermo. Perfect, then we will do it like this, Martinez-Riguera said, as a sign of the end of the meeting. They both got up, shook his hand, and left. Once in the corridors, they said goodbye to each other and took different paths out of the place. The next day, Sarah was walking down the street until she stopped at the entrance of an elegant building. She rang the doorman's bell and was answered by a female voice. Hi, I'm looking for Dr. Aquino. Yes, of course. The buzzer rang. Sarah pushed the door and entered, walked down the hall and up the stairs to the first floor. There, the door was open, so she went into the waiting room where the secretary was at the desk. Hello, the doctor's almost free. She's finishing up a session. Great, I'll wait for her. After a little less than 5 minutes, the voice of a woman began to be heard on the other side of the nearest door. Sarah approached it. The door opened, and Veronica, a woman about her age, was seen talking to a young man in his 20s. Listen to me. If you have to be yourself and be patient, you have to keep trying, and you'll see that women will start to appear. The young man listened with an optimistic smile, concerned about making a good impression. Finally, they said goodbye to each other with a kiss, and he left still smiling. Sarah and Veronica greeted each other also with a kiss. The first one told the other. I heard about the 2 new applicants. Yeah, I got a phone call from Martinez-Riguera the other day. I noticed he was different. He seemed more excited than the last time. It seems that what he got to see was quite positive. Sure, it's just that it's been a while since we had an entry. Well, actually, it was the right thing that ended up canceling everything. That's right. When do you interview them? This Thursday. Well, keep us posted. I'm going to meet the people from the party now. We'll keep talking. Okay, I'll tell them the news on Friday. All right. They said goodbye to each other with a kiss, and so Sarah left, while Veronica went over to talk to the secretary and check on her next patients. That Thursday, Veronica arrived to the given site. They were to meet at the entrance of the building where her office was located. There, Javier was already waiting for her. He was dressed differently than last time. He had a t-shirt and shorts on. The only thing he was also wearing last time was a rather modern pair of gray sneakers that attracted attention because they had the symbol of a white lightning bolt on the outside, representing the brand. He introduced himself. They greeted each other, and she started with the questions that were going to make the applicant tell his position on some current issues. The questions were 5. The last one was the following. So, tell me, how do you think you can cooperate with our party? With militancy, with dedication, because I want to change the situation in this country, and I know that with struggle it can be achieved. I am convinced, and I have the desire to do it. Very good. Let me make one thing clear to you in case you are admitted. Inside you will notice that the dynamic is not very different from that of any other party, but for reasons that you will also get to know, we keep ourselves more hidden. Although, there is one part, and this is the part that makes most people regret or doubt that we do for the same reason that we keep ourselves hidden, which is the initiation rite. Then Javier effectively changed his expression of security to one of doubt. What initiation rite? A rite of passage for all those who want to enter the party to prove that they really want it and that they have the same vision as us, but basically to prove that the party is going to be above the rest of their activities. It's something to keep out those who are not really committed, and so far it has worked and has been 100% useful. Javier couldn't help but put on a worried face. And what does it consist of? We can't tell you that. You're going to have to find out for yourself. You're going to have to show us what you can do to prove all these things. If you agree, I'll give you the final forms to fill out. Javier nodded in agreement, making a great effort to conceal his doubts, which he did not manage to achieve completely. Veronica, noticing this, told him, If you don't agree, it's all right. No, there's no problem. Are you sure? Sure, no problem. I already told you. I want to be a member of the party. At that moment, Veronica's cell phone rang. She took it out of her pocket and saw the number calling. She told Javier to excuse her for a moment and answered while slowly walking away to the corner, turning just around it. Javier waited. A little more than a minute later, 2 young men approached him, and one of them said, How are you doing, man? Those shoes are good. Javier began to look around, sensing what was happening. Indeed, the other young man said to him with anger, Come with us. What? That you come with us, repeated the first of them. No, I can't, dude. Veronica, in the meantime, had just put away her cell phone and was on her way back to where Javier was waiting for her, when Guillermo approached her saying, "Excuse me, are you Dr. Aquino?" "Yes." "How do you do? My name is Guillermo. I had to stop by today to check on the possible entrance to the party." "Oh yeah, I'm just finishing up the interview with the other guy now. I'll be with you in 5 minutes." Meanwhile, the two young men were physically attacking Javier. He was resisting, but the two young men seemed to overcome his strength. Guillermo, for his part, held back Veronica by asking her, "Excuse me, I just want to ask you a question. I was told about some kind of initiation rite." "Yes, it's actually something that those who want to enter have to do to prove that they really want to enter the party and that they have the same vision of the party." Meanwhile, Javier was almost unconscious and barefoot. The two young men carried him on their shoulders around the corner on the opposite side from where Veronica had left. They looked both ways. Seeing no people nearby, they continued to walk onto a dumpster by the curb, which had its lid open, and dump him inside. Then they looked both ways again and walked away at a very fast pace, while Guillermo had Veronica back once again and said, "I had a talk with Martinez Riguera the other day, and somehow he gave me confidence because we have a very similar vision of things." "That's what he wants. He's the one who takes care of that. Come, join me as I finish the interview with the other guy." The two of them walked to the place where Javier was supposedly awaiting. When they arrived, Veronica asked confused, "And Javier?" She checked the entrance of the building to confirm that it was the place where she had left him. She looked both ways and crossed the street. "That's weird. I told him to wait for me. I had to give him the final forms." "Ah, but I understand that there are people who, when told about the rite—" "Yes, but he told me he was sure, that he wanted to enter anyways." "Didn't he ever have any doubts?" "Yes, at one point it looked like he wasn't going to accept, but then he was decided. And that's typical. He wasn't so sure the other day. How about you do the interview with me?" "All right." Veronica performed the same procedure with Guillermo. In the last question, Guillermo answered, "I feel like I can give a lot to the party. I felt it the other day when I was talking to Martinez Riguera. I felt that we have a very similar vision of things and that this is going to be my place." "Great. In case that you are admitted, you will notice that the handling of the party is very similar to that of others. But for reasons you'll come to know, we keep ourselves hidden." "Yes, I know, just as I knew about the initiation rite. I've been wanting to get into this party for a long time, and I've tried to learn as much as I could." "Then I can give you the final forms." "Yeah, no problem." This way, Guillermo carried out the final part of this procedure. When the process was over, the two left in the same direction, the opposite side from where they had come from. They turned around the corner, and about halfway down the block, there was the dumpster. Guillermo, who was on the opposite side of the curb, saw in the distance the soles of two bare feet protruded from the dumpster with the ankles resting on the edge. At this, he tried to talk to Veronica. "The truth is, I'm very excited about the militancy for the party. I'm sure everything will be fine. I see you are convinced, and that's the main thing to have to get in and do a good job." As she was saying this, they were leaving the dumpster behind, so Guillermo responded relaxed, "Actually, I am." The next day, Veronica called Sarah to inform her of what had happened, and they called Martinez Riguera. This is something that was said in the latter conversation. Of the two people, only one remained. Guillermo. The situation with Javier was very strange. Everything seemed to be going well, but when he heard about the rite, he disappeared. Well, yes, obviously, that's what the rite is for. Guillermo accepted it. Now you have to wait to see what rite he decides to do. Yes, actually, Guillermo already performed the rite. What do you mean? He has already done it? Yes, he told me the other day what he wanted to do, and I found it more than interesting. It seemed a very worthy attitude of the party. I'm waiting for him now to bring me the proof that indeed he did it. Ah, great. So you can say he's part of the party? Not yet, but I'll call you as soon as he gets here to confirm. In no more than 20 minutes later, someone knocked on the office door. Martinez Riguera let him in. The door opened, and the person seen was Guillermo holding a bag. Martinez Riguera smiled and stopped what he was doing. Guillermo entered, closed the door, and went over to the desk, saying, "I came to fulfill my final part of the rite. Here's the proof. A new donation to be made in our party's name." Guillermo took a pair of sneakers out of the bag. These shoes were gray and had a particular sign. Both had on the outside of the symbol of the brand the symbol of a white lightning bolt. When Martinez Riguera noticed this symbol, he smiled again, picked up the phone, dialed a number, and when they answered, he said, "Veronica, it's confirmed. Guillermo is part of the party." Alternative ending. The following Thursday, Veronica arrived to the given place. They were to meet at the entrance of the building where her office was located. Javier, who was dressed informally, was already waiting for her there. He introduced himself, they greeted each other, and she began with the questions that were going to make the aspirant tell his position on some current issues. The questions were 5. The last one was the following. And tell me, how do you think you can cooperate with our party? With militancy, with dedication, because I want to change the situation in this country, and I know that with struggle it can be achieved. I am convinced and I have the desire to do it. Very good. Let me make one thing clear to you in case you are admitted. Inside you will notice that the dynamic is not very different from that of any other party, but for reasons that you will also get to know, we keep ourselves more hidden. Although there is one part, and this is the part that makes most people regret or doubt, and that we do for the same reason that we keep ourselves hidden, which is the initiation rite. Then Javier effectively changed his expression of security to one of doubt. What initiation rite? A rite of passage for all those who want to enter the party, to prove that they really want to do it and that they have the same vision as us, but basically to prove that the party is going to be above the rest of their activities. It's something to keep out those who are not really committed, and so far has worked and has been 100% useful. Javier couldn't help but put on a worried face. And what does it consist of? We can't tell you that. You're going to have to find out for yourself. You're going to have to show us what you can do to prove all these things. If you agree, you have to come back tomorrow at this time and fill out the final forms. Javier nodded in agreement, making a great effort to conceal his doubts, which he did not manage to achieve completely. Veronica, noticing this, told him, "If you don't agree, it's all right." No, there's no problem." "Are you sure?" "Sure, no problem. I already told you. I want to be a member of the party." "Should I sign you up to see me tomorrow?" Yeah, write me down." "Great, we'll meet then." When Javier retired, Guillermo arrived, also dressed informally. He introduced himself, they greeted each other, and Veronica performed the same process with him. In the last question, Guillermo answered, "I feel like I can give a lot to the party. I felt it the other day when I was talking to Martinez Riguera. I felt that we have a very similar vision of things, and this is going to be my place." "Great. In case you are admitted, you will notice that the handling of the party is very similar to others, but for reasons that you will get to know, we keep ourselves hidden." "Yes, I know very well about that, and I've been wanting to get into this party for a long time, and I know very well about that, just as I know about the initiation rite." Veronica was surprised. "Oh, you know about the initiation rite?" Yes. "Do you know that's something a lot of people regret?" "Yes, it's not my case." "So I'll put you down for tomorrow at this time for the final forms." "All right." "Okay, so we're set." That Friday, Veronica returned to the given place. No one had arrived yet. A few blocks away, one could see Javier walking at a fast pace. He was dressed differently than last time. He had a t-shirt and shorts on, but he was wearing something that he had worn the day of the talk with Martinez Riguera. Quite modern gray sneakers that attracted attention because they had the symbol of a white lightning bolt on the outside, representing the brand. He walked through the last blocks he had left to get there, and when he arrived at the last crossing, he managed to visualize Veronica, which motivated him. As he was about to cross the street, 2 young men approached him, and one of them said to him, "How are you doing, man? Those shoes are good." Javier began to look around, sensing what was happening. At that moment, and from the other side of the street, Guillermo appeared and went over to greet Veronica, while one of the 2 young men took out a gun from his pocket and said angrily to Javier, "Come with us. Please, I'll give you anything you want. Shut your ass up and come with us, or you get smoked." With no other choice, Javier obeyed. The 3 of them walked the other way and turned around the corner. For their part, Veronica and Guillermo entered the building and went upstairs to her office, where he completed the final forms. Meanwhile, around the corner, the 2 young men were beating Javier to death. When they finished, the 2 young men returned to the avenue, looking to both sides, seeing no people nearby. They walked, carrying Javier, who was unconscious and barefoot, to a dumpster located by the curb on the block where they had stopped him, which had its lid open and dumped him inside. Then they looked again to both sides and walked away at a fast pace. For their part, Veronica and Guillermo finished the paperwork and started to go downstairs. They left the building and both walked in the same direction, towards the side where Javier had been stopped. She, somewhat unaware, commented, "Strange that Javier didn't come." "Yeah, I understand there are people who, when told about the rite..." "Yes, but he had told me he was sure and that he wanted to enter anyway." "Didn't he ever have any doubts?" "Yes, at one point it looked like he wasn't going to accept, but then he was decided." "Yeah, that's typical. I didn't see him being so sure the other day." About halfway down the block was the dumpster. Guillermo, who was on the opposite side of the curb, saw in the distance the soles of 2 bare feet protruded from the dumpster with the ankles on the edge. At this, he tried to talk to Veronica. The truth is, I'm very excited about the militancy for the party. I'm sure everything will be fine. I see you're convinced, and that's the main thing to have to get in and do a good job. As she was saying this, they were leaving the dumpster behind, so Guillermo responded, relaxed. Actually, I am. The next day, Veronica called Sarah to inform her of what had happened, and then they called Martinez Riguera. This is something that was said in the latter conversation. Of the two people, only one remained, Guillermo. The situation with Javier was very strange. Thursday he confirmed he was coming back yesterday, but he didn't come back. He must have had something more important to do. Guillermo did come back. Now you have to wait to see what rite he decides to do. Yes, actually, Guillermo already performed the rite. What do you mean? He has already done it? Yes, he told me the other day what he wanted to do, and I found it more than interesting. It seemed a very worthy attitude of the party. Oh, look at that. I was surprised I didn't have to tell him about it. He already knew. Yes, you can tell he tried to know as much as he could. I'm waiting for him now to bring me the proof that indeed he did it. Ah, great. So you can say he's part of the party? Not yet, but I'll call you as soon as he gets here to confirm. Okay. And no more than 20 minutes later, someone knocked on the office door. Martinez Riguera let him in. The door opened, and the person seen was Guillermo holding a bag. Martinez Riguera smiled and stopped what he was doing. Guillermo entered, closed the door, and went over to the desk, saying, I came to fulfill my final part of the rite. Here's the proof. A new donation to be made in our party's name. Guillermo took a pair of sneakers out of the bag. These shoes were gray and had a particular sign. Both had on the outside the symbol of the brand, the symbol of a white lightning bolt. When Martinez Riguera noticed the symbol, he smiled again, picked up the phone, dialed a number, and then they answered. He said, Veronica, it's confirmed. Guillermo is part of the party. Hello, my name is Corin Manders, and I'll be reading a short story from the book collection written by Maximiliano Orioli called Architecture, a little introduction to La Campagna Lombardini campaign. We are set up in the dining room of a private house. We could see a scene where two young people, a woman and a man, were having a quiet chat. She, named Viviana, was walking slowly through the room, and he, named Rodrigo, was sitting relaxed on the couch. Viviana was 20 years old, moderately tall and slender, with dark brown wavy hair just over the shoulders, and brown eyes. Rodrigo was 1 year older, moderately tall and of normal build, with light brown hair, somewhat long, not very combed, and brown eyes. Both were people who showed great confidence in themselves. They dressed informally. Viviana was wearing a shirt, jeans, and sneakers, and Rodrigo was wearing a shirt with shorts. One could see them, also, quite tanned as if they had just returned from vacations. At one point in the conversation, she said, I think that was the club that closed last year. I'm sure it was. It wasn't good. I don't know why you liked it so much. That's where I started going with my friends. We loved it. You didn't have a club you liked? I told you, I don't think I have ever been to the same place 2 weekends in a row. I don't know what to think of that. Well, where would you like to go? I'd like to go to Olivos. To Olivos? Rodrigo asked half-heartedly. Yeah, what about it? You always want to go to those clubs that are such a drag. Ah, well, okay, you choose. I've been wanting to go to the one that opened a few months ago, Colette, and we never go. My friends told me about that one. They say it's not very good, that they play horrible music. It doesn't matter. I've wanted to go there for a long time. I want to see it. You're so stubborn about that club, and now you can't get it out of your head. No, once we go, I'm going to calm down. Viviana took a deep breath and tried to confirm, discouraged. There's no way to change their mind. No, I'm stubborn. And why do you have to be so stubborn? Rodrigo got up and walked slowly towards her with an air of smugness, and once in front of her, he said, Just because. Viviana didn't look at him very kindly, but he took her by the waist and he began to kiss her. Finally, she responded to the kiss. That same night, inside a large and fairly crowded club, Viviana could be seen talking to Camilla, another young woman about the same age. At one point, the first one commented, I never really wanted to come to this club. I came because Rodrigo was obsessed. I don't know for how long he's been wanting to come. To be honest, it didn't interest me much either. I already knew it, and I didn't think much of it. Actually, I didn't really feel like going out today. I came to accompany Andres, a friend who had had a difficult day. What happened to him? Well, a lot of things are being decided at the organization with the new theses, and he's fighting for that. He needs more people to help him. Really? Yeah, it's a big issue. Meanwhile, in another part of the club, Rodrigo could be seen talking to someone who had seemed to be a friend of his. Each of them was holding a glass full of some alcoholic beverage. In that sector, there was a young man about the age of both of them who were walking around alone, and who seemed by his movements to have had one too many drinks. Standing about 1 meter away from them, he stumbled and pushed the other young man from behind, causing him to spill the contents of his glass on Rodrigo's jeans, just below the waist. The young man apologized to them and immediately stepped aside. Rodrigo, angry and trying to think quickly, looked around to see if Viviana was near, and when he didn't see her, he told his friend that he was going to the bathroom to clean himself up. He quickly went there, and his friend went to the other side of the club. In the meantime, Viviana and Camila were walking in the direction where this had happened, since that was where Rodrigo had stayed when he found his friend. However, when they arrived at the location, there was only the young man who had caused the accident. Camila recognized him. He was a young man of average height, normal build, short dark brown hair, and brown eyes. Camila immediately said to him, "Andres, this is Viviana, a friend of mine." Andres, who now looked like a completely sober person, greeted Viviana with a kiss and said, "Do you want me to get you something?" No, it's okay." "I was telling her that you had a difficult day today and needed this distraction," Camila said. "I really did." From that moment on, the three of them began a fairly extensive talk. After a while, Camila showed them her empty glass and left, leaving them alone. The talk continued for a while longer with mutual ease and several laughs in between. The following situation was to occur a few days later in another large apartment, both in the dining room and in the kitchen, of almost the same size and separated by an arcade. In the latter one could see Viviana cooking on the countertop and Rodrigo walking while talking on the wireless phone. Both were wearing summer shirts, shorts, and barefoot. Rodrigo could be heard saying, "No matter what that guy told you, he's obviously going to tell you that. Everyone sells their own stuff. No, that's why. You can't consider what he tells you because he's trying to sell you something. And yes, that's what I'm telling you." At that moment, Viviana put some trays with food inside the fridge and continued to prepare the rest, while Rodrigo continued saying, "That's why I'm telling you. Don't change your plans from one day to the next because of what that guy tells you. In that place I'm telling you about, they still owe us merchandise. And no, but I hope they don't play dumb." As he said these last words, he was slowly entering the dining room. "It's not the first time they do this kind of things. We continue working with them because within the industry, they are the ones who with the best merchandise." By then, the bell rang. Viviana stopped what she was doing and opened the door. It was Andres, holding some bottles. Viviana was happy to see him. They greeted each other with a kiss, and he told her he came to bring the drinks. Viviana let him in and closed the door. They went to the kitchen. On their way there, Andres waved at Rodrigo, and vice versa. In the kitchen, Andres placed the bottles in the refrigerator, and Viviana continued to prepare the dishes. Andres asked her, "And you? How's it going?" "Okay, just finishing up here." In the background, one could hear Rodrigo's voice from the dining room saying, "Unfortunately, yes, they're the ones with the best merchandise. We wanted to change them several times and ended up going back to them because, in the end, right?" Andres stood beside Viviana and told her with a gesture, "I was looking forward to seeing you." Viviana smiled, and Andres asked her, "And you?" Viviana responded with a gesture. "I told you we can't." "Yes, we can. I can't take no for an answer." Andres put his hand on her waist. Viviana turned her head, glancing over to the dining room, seeing that Rodrigo had his back to them, and she said to Andres, "No, not here." "Yes, it has to be here." "I'm asking you, please." Andres saw that Rodrigo turned around, so he took his hand off Viviana's waist. Rodrigo walked slowly through the kitchen and entered, grabbing a glass of water from the countertop. Andres waved at him, and Rodrigo responded in the same way. After this, he slowly went back to the dining room, as he said on the phone, "Well, what you're saying is the same thing I said to this guy. Just because we keep working with them doesn't mean we have to leave them alone. We have to insist on them because if we don't, they fall asleep." Andres put his hand on Viviana's waist again, and she said, "No, stop it. I'm not going to make it through the night without a kiss." "No, really, Andres, not here. Stop it." "One kiss only." Viviana turned her head again, glancing slyly into the dining room, seeing that Rodrigo was with his back to them. She gave Andres a short kiss on the mouth, while Rodrigo was saying, "That's why so far it's more or less quiet, because sometimes we're on top of them. Well, you have to be on top of them, not listening to what the other guy says. That's it. Let's leave it at that then." Andres asked Viviana, "Are we going to see each other tonight?" "Yes," she answered with a smile. "Yeah, really?" "Yes, really," she answered, now without being able to hide her laugh. "I'm going to insist on you much more tonight. You won't be able to hide anywhere." Viviana continued to laugh in silence until she heard the noise of the phone. Getting serious, she looked towards the dining room and saw that Rodrigo was finishing talking and was heading towards the kitchen. Viviana put one more tray inside the refrigerator. Rodrigo, upon entering, asked Andres, "How's it going? All good?" "Yes, all right. I passed by to leave the drinks." "Oh, cool. I'll see you tonight then?" "I'll see you tonight, yeah. I'm going to go and finish up with some stuff. Bye, Vivi. See you." "Bye. See you." Rodrigo walked him to the door and opened it. After that, he went back to the kitchen where Viviana asked him, "The business? Everything okay?" "It's getting more and more complicated. I have to be looking up ideas all the time." "Right. I'm going to finish up a few things before tonight." After saying this, he retired to the dining room. A few hours later, at approximately 9 o'clock at night, in the same place, one could see Rodrigo and Andres in the dining room together with Ruben and Natalia, other friends of their age. The entrance door was open. In the kitchen was Viviana with Camila, getting some dishes ready. When they finished, each one took a tray to the dining room and stayed there chatting with the rest. There were some of them sitting, others were standing, in casual summer clothes and barefoot, except for Ruben and Camila. The latter one commented, "Julieta's birthday is coming up." "Yes, you know I got used to the idea that it was on another date," Natalia answered. "We met in a course we took, and we passed around the birthday list." "Don't tell me they messed it up." Rodrigo went ahead and said, "Exactly, there were some mistakes. Julieta's was one." "No, I can't believe it," exclaimed Ruben. "Yeah, and by the time they realized it has been a while. Who made that list?" Everyone laughed at the comment. At that moment, Viviana and Andres crossed complacent glances. Camila, who had seen them, smiled at them. Rodrigo saw Camila, and as a result, paid more attention to Viviana and Andres, and was able to see the same thing. In view of this, he did nothing, but clearly his face took on an expression of suppressed anger. The subtle change in the situation no longer escaped everyone's attention. Meanwhile, Natalia continued to say, "I don't know, the people responsible never came forward." "When is it? In 15 days, right? The real birthday?" Ruben asked. Camila and Natalia answered, laughing, that it was. Viviana returned to the kitchen, and Andres added, "No need to say anything then. Julieta should be here soon." "Yes, she's late," Camila answered. "She's not going to get any drinks if this keeps up." Andres took a bottle and poured the little content that was left into his glass. Then he said, "Wait, I'll go get another one." He went into the kitchen. Viviana smiled as she saw him enter. Andres took another bottle of beer from the fridge and approached her, saying, "I told you that I was going to insist on you more tonight." "No, really, enough," she said, but couldn't help but laugh. "Don't be long." After saying this, he gave her a quick kiss on the mouth. In the dining room, Rodrigo stood up and began to walk to the kitchen, watching Andres leave with the bottle in his hand. They crossed paths without saying anything to each other. Rodrigo entered the kitchen, asking Viviana, "So, everything okay?" "Everything's all right, yeah. I've just got to bring this." Viviana took the tray and began to leave, but Rodrigo stood in front of her, blocking her way. Then he put his hands on her waist and tried to kiss her. Viviana shook her head and said, "Not now, Rodrigo. I have to take this. My mind is somewhere else." Rodrigo stepped aside and Viviana continued on her way out. He stared at the wall with his hands on his hips with the same repressed expression of anger as before. A few seconds later, Natalia entered the kitchen trying to open a drawer on the counter, looking at Rodrigo from behind. When she opened it, Rodrigo heard the noise and turned around. "A couple of pieces of silverware were missing," Natalia said. "Ah, shall I take some for you?" No, I'm not eating yet." "Okay." Natalia grabbed a couple of pieces of silverware, closed the drawer, and went back out. Rodrigo stayed a few more seconds the way he was, until he opened the refrigerator, looked at the inside of it, and then entered the dining room, being angry, saying, "What happened that you did not touch the drinks I brought?" Everyone was surprised, and the place stayed in silence. Viviana broke it by saying, "No, we'd rather take those now and leave those for another time." "Why? I brought them for tonight. Why didn't you tell me you weren't drinking them?" "I wouldn't have bought them." "Well, what do I know? We didn't know." "You didn't know? Okay, no problem." He continued to be angry. "I went and bought several things for today. No one touched them. Drink the other drinks then. I'm leaving." Rodrigo went into the other room, grabbed his sneakers, and put them on and left. The eyes of the group met each other with a surprised expression. As he walked through the entrance door, Julieta, another girl about everyone's age, was entering with a pot of ice cream in her hands. Rodrigo left angry without saying anything. Julieta, surprised, looked at him, turned her head towards him without understanding what was going on, and then looked back at the group, who gestured that nothing was going on. Julieta exclaimed, "Oh, okay. I brought the ice cream, guys." Viviana got up and took it to the freezer. The following situation occurred 15 days later in a kind of party hall with several tables. People were dressed casually, and there was a sign hung up with the inscription, "Happy Birthday, Giulietta." At one of the tables, Viviana and Camilla were sitting with other people. At a farther table, Rodrigo was also sitting with other people. Some of the tables were also empty, and there were groups of people standing and talking. There were also people who were leaving. At one point, Viviana got up from her table along with the others, with whom she kept talking for a few minutes. After a while, those people left. Viviana put on her jacket, and at that moment, Rodrigo approached her, saying, "Hello. Hello. You didn't get back to me the other day." "I wasn't home, actually. I was going to call you later, but I was too tired." "So, how are you? Everything okay?" "Yeah, all right. You?" "Good. All good, fortunately." There was a silence for a few seconds that Rodrigo broke by saying, "I wanted to talk to you the other day to see how you were doing." "Ah. Can I call you another day?" "What are you calling me for?" "To talk to you." "But, Rodrigo, that's it. We're done. There's no going back." "No, I know that, but I wouldn't want to suddenly lose touch with you." "And why would you go through that?" "Well, it does me good to keep talking to you, even if it's only once in a while. Can I call you?" "I won't hang up if you call me, but I don't understand why." "Because I would love it if we could still be friends." "No, Rodrigo. It would be very good for me. I know that we're over, and I accept that, but please, Vivi, don't deprive me of your friendship." When he said this, he put his hand on her shoulder. Viviana grabbed it and removed it subtly, saying, Okay. What I also wanted to say the other day is that whatever you need, you can count on me." "Well, okay. I'll be there forever." From the table where she was, Camilla chatted with the people who were still there, and when she finished, she saw the situation in which Viviana found herself and the expression on her face. So she got up and went over to both of them, saying to her, "Well, Vivi, shall we go?" "Okay, let's go," she answered. Then she said to Rodrigo, "Well, I have to go. Bye." "Bye." The two of them left the room and went to the reception where there were several people, including Giulietta. On the wall opposite to the entrance, it had hung another sign with the inscription, "The organization already has its new theses in place." Giulietta looked at Viviana and pointed to the door next to the sign, telling her, "He's waiting for you in the other room." Viviana looked at Camilla, and they both smiled. Then the first one went to the door. When she opened it, Andres was in the middle of the room, looking towards the entrance. She entered and closed the door. They began to walk towards each other and embraced, gave each other the longest kiss of their lives, and stood there lost in each other's faces.